Zdravím všechny posluchače a vítám vás u podcastu Honzy Bučka. Dnes je mým hostem Marc Geujon. Marc Geujon je francouzský trumpetista a natáčím s ním dneska díl, protože se nacházíme na ZUŠ Popelka v Praze a dnešním dnem končí kurzy, které tady pořádá Marek Zvolánek a Radek Matoušek, které se jmenují Czech Brass Academy, a právě díky tomu můžu natočit dnešní díl. Dnešní díl bude v angličtině, takže odteď se přesouváme do angličtiny a přeju vám, ať si užijete dnešní díl. Today's guest is Marc Geujon, an amazing French trumpet player. Marc is the principal trumpet of the National Opera of Paris and a professor of Paris Conservatory. His career includes numerous performances with renowned orchestras and contributions to music education. Thank you, Marc, for accepting my invitation to my podcast.
Thank you, Honza. It's a big pleasure for me to be here and to talk with you about our week, also in the Czech Brass Academy, fantastic week. And so it's a real pleasure to be with you today.
We will make this podcast to two parts. In the first part, we'll talk about your beginnings and about your overall career to these days. Mm-hmm. And in that second part, I will have some questions.
Okay.
So we'll move straight to that first part. And my first question is how you get to music and to trumpet.
So when I was perhaps 12 years old, I asked I'm from a little village in the north of France, near Belgium, not so far. And so I asked my parents to learn music, just probably to be with friends from my school at the music school. And so at that time in France, we had to learn solfège for 1 year. And after you could choose an instrument. And so I asked the director of the music school to play the trombone. And he opened the locker of the music school as there was no trombone inside. And so only a trumpet, an old trumpet. He said, okay, I have no trombone, but you will play that. So that's why I am a trumpet player now.
And how was it for you? Was it okay to accept that you can play
it
trumpet?
Was not a big deal because I was so excited to play with friends in some kind of little band, wind band. And so trumpet, trombone, anything would be good if I could play with my friend, every Sunday morning for rehearsal. So I take the trumpet and it was good for me.
And for your very beginning, does your family help you a lot?
Not at all, because nobody play music in my family.
Really?
No, nobody's. And so I started with amateur teacher, amateur player. He was teaching trumpet, but also different instruments. And I learned trumpet the very beginning with that super teacher, because he was not a fantastic player, but he gave me perhaps the love of my instrument and passion for music. And so it was really a nice time. After that, I went to the conservatory, who was 45 kilometers from my parents' house. And the teacher said, you never play a trumpet. It's not for you. It's not your instrument. And so he said, would you like to learn tuba? And I said, no, it's not possible, because the hour of your class is more convenient for my parents to go there. And because when I started to play the trumpet, my position was not super good and the sound was really awful, I could say. And so 1 year after my start, the professor of the conservatory said, okay, you stop during the summer and we restart in September from nothing. And so during 6 months, I play only long tones, just to change my position and to have better position, better sound.
And where do you have that position?
It was in the left side of my. I don't know how to say in English, but it was not really in the center of the mouth. It was really far left. So some people play super good with that kind of position, but me, the sound was not so good. So we changed. And 4 years after, I was in the Paris Conservatory. It was really fast after. But that professor helped me a lot to change and to restart with better position, better sound.
And in this part of your life, was going to conservatory was just one option for you, or you just or you thought about other options?
You mean for
Going to not music?
yeah. Yes, it was still a pleasure. I mean, a hobby, and so school was not too bad for me, and I was. How do you say? I was a little bit in advance at school, and so I was. My level in trumpet was not good enough to project to be a professional player, because I started at 12. During 1 year and a half, my debut was a little bit not so good, So I changed when I was near 14 years old. So it's a bit late, I mean. And after, it was fast, but I was 17, 18 when I had my first diploma in the conservatory. And so I started to study political science at school. And after, it was not really for me because I loved music and I asked my parents to be a trumpet player. And for my parents, was a real disaster, because for them, they are not musicians. I'm growing a farm. And so they I think they thought that it was really difficult to make money as musician, to live from musicians as professional. And so my father said, okay, you won't stay at home and do nothing, because trumpet was nothing. And so he pushed me to do the army. So I went to the army in a wind band also in Paris. There was a small audition, and then I was in army. Not so. The city was not so far. Rueil-Malmaison, a little town near Paris, where the trumpet teacher was Éric Aubier. And so my luck is the city near the army was with Éric Aubier, a trumpet teacher, and I went to that conservatory to study with Aubier, and it changed my life. So I studied 1 year and a half with Éric Aubier, and after I entered the Paris Conservatory.
And can you say I would say why it changed your life?
Because he was so talented. I mean, he was young. He was 35, 36 perhaps at that time. He just released his first CD with Thomasy Desenclos, Jolivet and Chance, his first solo disc. And it was so fantastic. And so when I heard his first recording, I said, okay, I want to study with that guy. Nobody else, And so he played a lot for us. His way of teaching was probably the same as Maurice André, because he was a student from Maurice André. And I think Maurice André, when he was teacher, he played a lot for the students, And Aubier played a lot for us. Every time, every lesson, he played a lot of concerto, and we try at home to imitate, to copy, to mimic his playing. And so that vision of the trumpet, easy, bright, heroic, was really something which was so fantastic for me. I loved that way of playing, and I try to copy that way of playing.
And do you think it's good to try to learn trumpet like that, or it's good to have someone who explain it in details?
For me, my opinion is always more natural to copy someone. It's not a big deal to be a copycat, but depends on the cat. Which means if you have a good model, it's good to try to mimic his playing, everything. Sometimes when you talk too much, when you try to explain too much, you try to describe your feeling with your own word, and after that you translate to the students. The students learn your words and try to translate also toward his feeling. And so it could be so many mistakes every time. So I think it's sometimes more efficient to play and to show something to the student. But it's just my opinion.
And did you ever experience something like that when you learn bad habits?
What do you mean?
I mean, from when that teacher is saying you some things, and maybe he's thinking about it differently than you.
Yeah, totally. When I was in the Paris Conservatory, the teacher was a former player for the Opera House, and he was probably it was difficult for him to explain with clear words. And so for a long time, he asked us to play shorter because I think his idea of trumpet playing was light playing, light staccato, and instead to say play lighter, he said play shorter. And so we all started to play without air, only tongue, like that, you know. And so every student in the classroom, we had big problems because of that, you know, because of that short playing. But it was not his idea, it was just his words. His idea was just to play lighter, you know. So I think if you understand differently than the teacher want to say you, it could be a big deal, it could be a big problem. So if at that time he took that trumpet to show us what he wanted to sound, it would have been more efficient.
And through your studies later on, did you have any problems? I mean, with your mouth or anything?
Not really, because Aubier, also my teacher, was I would say natural player, gifted player, but he never talked too much about that, and we never thought too much about, I have not a perfect position. I don't play in the middle. I play slightly in the left side. I never thought too much about that kind. My goal was to sound good. So I always opened my ears and tried to have a good sound, a good staccato, a good legato, a good everything. So it was not a technical issue. It was always a musical issue. So my goal was always to solve with the music and not with technical stuff.
You mentioned being naturally trumpet player. What do you mean by that?
I mean, for Aubier, for example, he entered the conservatory at 14, really young. He had his first prize in the Paris Conservatory at 17. He entered the opera orchestra at 19, which is pretty young for everything. So he started to study trumpet at 6, something like that, but he was naturally gifted. I mean, it was always easy for him to play the trumpet. For me, no, not really. I mean, my start were a little bit complicated, but after it was different. And I think everybody can play trumpets. It's not so difficult instrument. You have a small mouthpiece, a small bell, only 3 valve, 4 sometimes, but it's not something terrible. So after that, perhaps it's better not to think too much. Just play.
Yeah, okay. Can we move on? How you continued? You said you did that audition to that army band,
yeah.
And after you did what?
So after the army was just for a short time. It was, I don't know how to say in English, but in my country at that time you had to make the army for 1 year. You know, every young guy had to pass 1 year in army. It changed in France in 1995. No, it's not obligatory. But after that, I entered the Paris Conservatory. And at the end of my studies in the Paris Conservatory, I won my first position in the Garde Républicaine, which is a military wind band, presidential French military wind band in Paris. So I stayed in that military band a few years, and it was pretty good because I could play also in the same times in a big symphonic orchestra or opera as how do you say, extra player.
Yeah.
And so I had a good life at the very beginning. I was just married. We had some kids, and it was really a good life. But after a few years, it was with the military band. It was only concerts, but we played every time the same music, every time same conductor, every time. It was a little bit boring.
And what kind of music?
It was symphonic programs. I mean, we played exactly the same, like pictures, Rate of Spring, Bolero, or something like that, but they transcribed the strings part for clarinets and saxophone. So it was typical for the French Garde Républicaine. And so after a few years, it was a bit boring. So I did some auditions. I took musical chairs and I said, okay, I didn't make audition for a long time, so I will try to restart auditions, orchestral auditions. And with my wife, we had a look on the website, musical chairs. I think it was something like that, perhaps a newspaper at that time, I can't remember. And so the first audition was in Alsace, in Mulhouse Orchestra, near Strasbourg. And so I went there to pass the audition, and I won the audition. So it was a big surprise because it was 600 kilometers from my house. It was a little bit far. So my wife said, you have to move a little bit, to change. So let's start and we will see in Mulhouse. So I started in Mulhouse, but it was really far. So I played a few months there, and the next audition was in the north of Paris, in Amiens. And so it was a chamber orchestra. But it was the next audition.
Yeah, and that before was symphonic orchestra?
Yeah. So military wind band, symphonic orchestra, chamber orchestra in Amiens. I stayed there for 4 years, really nice time, but it was 160 kilometers from my house, so a little bit less far than Alsace, but still a bit far. After that, there was an audition in Paris Chamber Orchestra. And my wife is timpanist in Paris Chamber Orchestra. So she said the principal trumpet will retire. And so we will have an audition for trumpet, first trumpet in my orchestra. So I did the audition. I won the audition in the Paris Chamber Orchestra. But it was not so good to be with my wife. She was timpanist, me first trumpet. So we were really close in the orchestra. And it was every day, 24 hours on 24 hours together, because it was my nearest colleague in the orchestra and also at home. And so it was not good for us, to be always together. And so after 1 year, there was an audition in the opera house, because the principal trumpet was retired too. So I did the audition in the opera house and I won the position there. And so it was for me a good opportunity. I played there for the first time in 1993. And after many years, I won the position. So I knew the section, I knew the orchestra. And since I play in the opera, I'm really happy. So I never changed. I stayed in the opera house.
And how old you were at the time? You were born in
1974.
74, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm near 50. Old guy. I'm 49, still 49. But I started in the military band. I was 20 something, and after I moved several times, and I won the position in the opera house. I was 36. So old, I would say.
And when do you start to teaching?
Really early, during my studies at the Paris Conservatory, I was teaching really young people in a small music school. And after, when I was, I think, in the military band, I was assistant for Eric Aubier in Rueil-Malmaison. So I was teaching also young people in the Eric Aubier class. And after, I got a teaching position for the high level in Saint-Maur, which is also another city near Paris. And I stayed nine years with Eric Aubier, 7 years of teaching in Saint-Maur-des-Fossés. And after, there was a position for teaching in the Paris Conservatory. So I did the audition. And you had to play to teach in front of a jury and to discuss with the jury. So it was 7 years ago, I think. And since 7 years, I teach in Paris Conservatory.
And what about solo playing?
So it's also Eric Aubier who helped me a lot. When I was one of his students for a short time, he asked me to play, second, third trumpet in Bach masterpieces like, Mass in Ashmole or Christmas Oratorio, something like that. So third trumpet, second trumpet. And after, when I went to the Paris Conservatory, he started to make a bigger career as solo player, which means he was playing for a long time with a small chamber orchestra, the Paul Quentz Chamber Orchestra. Paul Quentz is a famous French conductor, still alive. He's 94, 95 years old now. And he was a conductor who played a lot with Maurice André and Adolphe Scherbaum. And so Aubier played with that chamber orchestra for perhaps 15 years. And at that time, when I was a student in the Paris Conservatory, he started to play with bigger orchestra. And I think he was too expensive for the chamber orchestra. His fees were more expensive. And so he pushed me a little bit in front of the stage to play, I would say for him, I mean, to make the concert because he was in a bigger orchestra. And so I started in that chamber orchestra to play Telemann, Tartini, piccolo concerto, Haydn, Hummel, everything. And so that conductor helped me a lot because I think he liked my playing, probably. He trusted me. And so he programmed a lot of concerts with trumpet. And so I played perhaps every year something like 30, 40 concerts with that orchestra as solo trumpet. And so I started really like that to play as soloist. So in every orchestra I played, I had the opportunity also to play some concerto. So I played a lot of Jolivet, a lot of Tomasi, a lot of Arutunian, Haydn, Hummel, everything. And I started like that. It was also natural. I never tried to be a superstar soloist or something. I just had some opportunities. And so when someone asked me to play, I played. And it was just because the music was so interesting. But I never had a plan of career. It was only opportunities.
Okay, I think now we can move to second part of this podcast, and I will ask you questions. I think some questions will not be too much related to previous, so just to know it. Did you want to play, or did you also want to become a teacher?
Both. I never considered my passion, my music, like you have to play classical or jazz or teaching or, chamber music. For me, I like to do everything I can do. I don't play jazz. I love to listen to jazz, but I don't play jazz. But I love to play in orchestra. It's fantastic. I love to play in chamber orchestra also. It's not the same repertoire. I love to play in opera. I love to play solo, and I love to teach. Everything is interesting, you know. So I love everything.
And what does teaching is given to you?
Many things. First of all, it learned me a lot from the students. Because when you teach, you have to think a little bit about something deeper in your playing, to try to explain, or, you know, when they have some problems, and you try to think a little bit how to help them. So you think also for yourself, because you tested sometimes some methods, some books. I try, you know, even mouthpiece or trumpet, just to know how it works for my students. And so it helped for everything, I think, to teach.
And is it sometimes hard for you to accept that you are not right in something?
No, never, never. I have no problem of ego. So we spoke a lot that week about ego, and I told you that ego is like your suite. You put your suite to go on stage, and when the concert is finished, you remove your suite with your ego inside, and you put it in the locker. So I think for everything it's the same. You try to do your best even a father life is not easy. When you are a father and you have kids, you try to do your best. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you succeed in something. But I mean, to be a father is difficult. To be a husband could be difficult. Something you are right, something no. Something your wife said you are not right. And that's life, you know. And for trumpet, for teaching, it's exactly the same. So something is successful, something less, but you do your best anytime.
Was it a problem for you in any time of your life, or
Was it?
Did you just have it like you have it now, all the time?
I think since a long time. Probably not. When I was young player, I would say I was a bit successful because I played early as soloist, and so I was perhaps a little bit too proud of myself when I was really young. And after, priorities moved, which means when my kids arrived in my life, it changed a lot of things for me. My vision of the life was completely different. Because when I was alone, I mean, I was living for myself. And when you are married and you have some kids, you live for your family also. You live a bit for yourself, but also for your family. So it changed. And I would say when I was perhaps 26, 27, my daughter arrived, my first kid. And it changed a lot in my vision of the life. So the more I get older, I think the less ego problem I have. Now I can consider I have really no ego problem. It's not a deal for me.
Okay. How do you relax? Do you think it's important for your mental health?
Yes, probably. Every morning I walk in the forest with my dog. When I have no rehearsals, I mean, I warm up early in the morning, and after I walk 1 hour and a half with my dog in the forest every day. So it's really helpful. And also I try to avoid stress in my life in anything. So I try to be always positive. If I have a problem with my car, it's just a car. If I have a problem with my motorcycle, it's just a motorcycle, you know. If we have a problem in orchestra, okay, that's not all my life. So I try to be positive, and it's also really helpful.
Is it hard sometimes to stay in this state of mind?
Sometimes, probably, but you can decide. You can decide. I mean, when problems arrive, you can also take time, take one step behind, breath a little bit, and say, okay. Sometimes when the problem arrives from anything, it's too near you. I mean, you have the problem in front of your nose. If you can just take 1 hour and say, okay, problem is like that, but how can I solve it, or how can I manage it? And sometimes it's enough to be more quiet and to be less stressed.
Does it in any way affect your trumpet playing?
Yeah, a lot. Same for me. For when I was young, I was always concerned by my condition before I go on stage, which means I always try to convince myself that I would be in the same conditions than in my bedroom or my practice room, and it never happened. So I tried to accept that on stage it would be every time different. Every time it would be too hot, too cold, too dry, too humid, the sound is, you know, there is everything, there is something every time. So now I accept that I will be in different condition when I am on stage. And it's much, much better for my stress.
Is there anything else you are doing to keep you in shape physically? I mean, we are talking about that relaxation for your mental health.
Yeah.
And what about your physical health?
I would say I'm not enough concerned by my physical health. As trumpet player, I love food, wine. I love, friends, and I'm not really concerned by that. So I walk every day with the dog. So I go in the forest. I breathe. I stop smoking. I don't drink alcohol when I work. I only drink. I love wine. I am a wine collector, but I drink wine not really often. Only with food, and I would say only days where I've nothing to do, no concert, no rehearsal or something like that. So for me it's important. Also, I never go to the bar or the pub after concert, because we make with my orchestra 5 or 6 concerts every week in the opera house. So if you go to the bar after each concert, you are really soon an alcoholic for me. So I just go with my friends. Sometimes we organize dinner in my house, but I don't go to the pub too often. So not so much alcohol, not so much anything, no cigarettes. But for rest and walk, and it's enough for me.
How do you spend your free time, if you have any free time? I
don't have a lot of free time, but I mean, to be a trumpet player is it's big deal in your. I mean, but not big deal, but it's a big thing in your life. So I play trumpet every day in a year, 365 days every year. I mean, except if I need to rest one day, but it's not so often. So every day I practice, because it's also a good option for me to avoid stress, because I'm always in good shape. So I practice a lot my instrument, and after I just have time for my family. I mean, I read. I love wine, so I can travel for wine sometimes, and to see friends. But I have nothing. I have no hobby like sport or something like that. Cooking, food, restaurant, but no football or something.
Do you have a memory from a concert that you like to remember?
I would say plenty. I have many good memories. Most of the memories are first times. I mean, first times I play Brandenburg. For first time I play in Musikverein in Vienna. First time I play in USA. First time, because every time it's your first time somewhere, it's a special day. If you do it every day, it's not so special. So I can't remember really a special day of opera in my orchestra, because I played many hundreds concerts of opera since I'm principal trumpet there. So I think I play 130, 140 concerts every year with the orchestra, which is a lot compared to a symphonic orchestra. So I can't remember a special day for opera, but I remember my first Alpen Symphony. I remember my first Mahler 2. I remember my first Mahler 5. Probably Gure Lieder also. I have clear memories from that concert because of the conductor or because of the choir, because of the concert hall, but a lot of good memories, but not something more than other. I mean, not something particular.
Do you have also a memory from concert when things didn't go quite as planned? And how do you handle it when it happened to you?
Yeah, I made probably many concerts with not perfection, For example, when I started to play with Paul Quain's Chamber Orchestra, he said I was playing, I don't know, Telemann or, Tartini. And every time when we went after the concert, the conductor said, at your age, Maurice André was perfection. Because perhaps I had a kick, or perhaps something technical was not so clear, so not perfect. So he said, at your age, Maurice André was perfection. So, I know. And I tried perhaps to improve myself with that, to say, okay, I will try to be better and better. And for a long time, my concert was opportunity to relax myself on stage. I mean, I was only thinking of the way to be more relaxed, if it's clear or not. But so that's the way I manage. It was not perfect, but I tried to do better for the next time. And but I have no particular memories for disaster in concert. Not yet. It will come, but for now, not yet, I would say.
And are you nervous before concerts? And how do you work with that, or do you do anything to prevent it?
Less now than when I was young, which is quite normal. Everybody is a little bit nervous. I mean, a little bit different. So now I accepted to be nervous, different than usual. So it's not really a big problem. What I do, I don't like to be alone in a room before the concerto. I hate that. So I have to be with someone and discuss with a technician behind the stage, or so I discuss from something just before to go on stage. I never like to be alone, concentrated or something. So every time I try to find someone to talk about life or weather, anything, cars, but it's important for me to think to something different than the concerto just after. So that's my way to be more relaxed.
Yeah, okay. Can we talk a bit about technical part of trumpet. I mean,
Mouthpieces? No.
yeah, mouthpieces and trumpets. What kind of trumpets do you use?
Okay. So I play Shilky trumpets since perhaps 25 years, something like that. Because I discovered Shilky trumpets with the piccolo and E-flat trumpets like everybody. And it's a long story, so it's not so interesting. When I met the owner of Shilky, Andrew Norman, and his wife, but it was in Paris in the shop. They made a tour for their dealers, Shilky dealers, and so we met, and he offered me to test it B-flat trumpet. It was a B1 model, gold-plated for the 50th anniversary of Shilky. And I tried the trumpet and I didn't like it. And I said to the owner, oh, no, it's not, I don't like it. And I said, okay. He was a little bit upset. And so he said, what do you play? So at that time I was playing a back trumpet with a 72 bell for B-flat trumpet. And he said, okay, I will send you something. And he sent to the music shop an X3 model, which is a large bore Shilky. And so I tried that trumpet and I said, oh yeah, it's really better than my back trumpet for me. So I bought that trumpet and and I started to play Shilky for the big trumpets. And after I played the C trumpet, it was a C3 model. Custom, I made classical Shilky design. And years after years, we became friends with Andrew Norman and his wife, and he accepted some advice for new models. And perhaps 7 years ago, we started to develop a new series, which is a soloist series. Which is because the classical design of Reynolds Shilky was super good instruments, super good intonation, easy to play, but I would say a little lack of projection for orchestra. So it was easy to play, but nobody hear you in the concert hall. You know, it's like for me, like the new Yamaha Chicago model, it's something like that. I mean, it's a wonderful instrument, but it's not fantastic for projection, but it's just my opinion.
Can you say why is it like that?
Because when you make something a little bit too light to have an instrument super easy to play, there is something miss in the sound. So perhaps core in the sound, some harmonics, I don't know, perhaps more high harmonics, but perhaps less thickness in the sound, and so there is a lack of projection. So back trumpets are not the best in the world. I mean, the sound is fantastic, but intonation is not so good. There is it's a hard instrument to play. It's just my opinion also. I know there is plenty of back player, but it's not easy instrument, but the sound is clearly fantastic. So the goal was to make an instrument who sounds good, but also had better intonation and more easy to play than the back instrument. As I was a real Shilky player, we made that first model in, I would say, Shilky design. Shilky feeling. And 1 year after, they asked a Japanese trumpet player, Osamu Takahashi, who is a fantastic player in Metropolitan Orchestra in Tokyo, to make something also, another trumpet. And his model is the OT, Osamu Takahashi model, are more like back trumpet, which means it's more back without the same issues than the back classical model intonation, and valves. And so my model are more Shilky design and his model are more back design. But it works well. And so we had also different line of mouthpieces with Shilky. And I play, as many trumpet players, I have a lot of mouthpieces, but my current mouthpieces are from Toshika Miyama, Japanese maker. I have also Bresselmeyer mouthpiece, And on the rotary trumpet, I play sometimes an old Monke mouthpiece. So many mouthpieces, because I want to have a good tool to make the music I want. I mean, I don't think it's, for me, a good option to play everything with the same trumpet and same mouthpiece. So I change trumpet, mouthpiece, mute, just to have the sound I want for a particular piece.
And can you give trumpet players some advice how to choose perfect mouthpiece? And is there something like a perfect mouthpiece?
No, the perfect mouthpiece doesn't exist. I mean, it's always a balance. I would say my opinion is useful to start with something medium. I mean, not too big mouthpiece, not too small mouthpiece. For the diameter and cup, also throat and backbore. So if you can play something, something really classic, it's good. After that, for orchestral player, you can play a more open backbore, like the 24 backbore, on more open throat if you want. But if you play too open throat, for example, most of the time staccato is more difficult. Flexibilities are more difficult. So if you play too small, you can feel stuffy. So something middle of the road is good for everybody. The size is really particular because depends your lips. Do you have thin lips, thick lips? Do you have particular jaws or teeth? So it's also individual choice. But for students, for example, if you have something medium, it's most of the time a good choice.
Okay, so we can move to normal questions about other things. Was there any trumpet player or trumpet teacher that influenced your trumpet playing the most?
As a lot of trumpet player, I would say Maurice André. Yes, it was the god of trumpets when I was young, and for a lot of players everywhere. So Maurice André first, my teacher Eric Aubier also, because his kind of playing was perhaps something important for me. And many players now, every time I meet someone, I try to pick good details of their playing or music, and so I have many influence. I mean, I love piccolo playing from Reinhold Friedrich or Matiasovs. I love the natural playing of Antonsen, for example. Orchestral sound of Michael Sachs in Cleveland, or Esteban Batayan in Chicago, or Pacho Flores is fantastic player. There is many super good player everywhere. Even here, when I played with Jeremy Wilson, the trombone player from America, it was such a pleasure for me to make music with that guy, because it was so beautiful. He's not a trumpet player, he's just a musician, he's a trombone player, but musician. And so when he played the start of the second movement of a concerto for trumpet, trombone, and piano, it was so beautiful. I just tried to copy his music, and so he had a big influence on me for that week, So I would say that's a part of musician life, influence. For jazz player, for example, it's natural. For classical player, it's perhaps less natural to say that. But I have influence from my colleagues in the orchestra, oboe player, flute player, violin player, and trumpet section player. From any when I talked to Marek Zvolánek before, and we met a few years ago to make a recording for 4 trumpets in Belgium. It was with Marek, come from Czech Republic, Giuliano Sommerhalder, who is a Swiss guy, a principal trumpet in Geneva, a Belgian guy, Benny Viam, who was former principal trumpet of Rotterdam Philharmonic, and me, French guy. And so we met 1 hour before the recordings. and it was so good to play together, you know. And I met Marek at that time, and he was such a good player. So I picked some details also from Marek playing, for example. I never told him because it's a secret, but I picked some details of his playing. And so influence is every day.
What is important part of working together in a trumpet section in orchestra?
Everything. Important part is first to be happy to play together, which is not so easy sometimes. I told you that week that I have more time with my colleague in the pit than with my wife most of the time because we play a lot of concerts. And so, first of all, it's to be happy to play together. So it's also my job as principal trumpet to make for all to run smoothly for my colleagues. So I always try to involve my section in every decision. I never decide by myself, for example. I have my ideas, but I ask my colleagues if they agree with those kind of ideas, musical or extra musical. And also, when we play together, I never force them to play that kind of mute trumpet or mouthpiece or anything, because everybody has his choice, his comfort, which is more important than the brand or the type of mouthpiece or mute. And so we just try to sound good together, which means we open our ears and we try to make the better sound for the section.
Can you imagine yourself playing different instrument?
Which means? Which kind of instrument do you mean?
I mean, not a trumpet.
I would say not really, because I wouldn't have time to practice another instrument, and I really impressed by David Guerrier, for example, the French guy who is now principal trumpet in Berliner Philharmoniker. He can play trumpet, French horn, trombone, violin, everything super good. It's not my case, so I try to play trumpet correctly, which is not easy sometimes, but I would have loved to play trombones for the sound, because I love the trombone sound. But my life is with the trumpet, so I try to do my best. And I think when I will be retired in perhaps something like 15 years, if my health is okay, I will stop to play trumpet, because it will be something like 55 years of trumpet. It's enough. And because if you want to be a good trumpet player, you have to practice every day. And if you don't practice every day, you play in a few time, you play like shit. And so if I retired, when I will be retired from the orchestra, teaching everything, I think I will stop to play, because I don't want to feel in bad shape after 1 month, 2 months, or 1 year, you know.
So what do you think about players like Doug Severinsen, who is playing at...
I don't think. I mean, his life. Why not? In America, they have different. There is no pension for most of them, so they have to work, first of all. But, for example, it's not easy to say, but I remember Maurice André, when he was 60, he was still a wonderful player. But at the end, the concerts were really difficult, you know. Sound was sometimes still good, but he had more and more problems to play, you know. I know it's not really diplomatic to say that, but even Adolf Hirses, when he was in orchestra in Chicago Symphony Orchestra, he played until perhaps 85, 86, something like that. But the best recording was in the 70s, not in 90, 95 or something like that. Intonation were not so good, you know. Sound was perhaps more aggressive. He could play fantastic, I mean, loud and everything in repertoire, but the quality was really different. It was same for a lot of players, I think. So if I I've still the idea when in 15 years, I think I will stop before that. Perhaps it's strange for you to hear that, but for me, I think it's important.
Do you think it's also connected with that ego?
Not really, but I think I will have time to do really different things. Which means all my life for now, it's around trumpet. Every day. Every day, 365 days every year. I mean, since 30 years now. So probably 15 years more. But after, perhaps it will be time to do something else, in my life. Perhaps I will be with, grandkids. I mean, my kids will have some children. Perhaps, I don't know, perhaps I will have time to do something else, go to travel more. Now, when I travel, I don't see the country or the city. For example, I have 1 week in Prague. I see nothing of Prague. We teach all the day. At the end of the day, you go to your hotel. It's time. You have lunch. You sleep. And today I go back to the airport. I could say, okay, I was in Prague 1 week. But for me, to be in Prague, for example, it's the same than to be in Vienna or the same to be. It's same kind of hotel, same kind of airport. So what is interesting is to meet the people. So I learn from Czech people. I discovered Czech people. But I can't say I saw the city of Prague. So perhaps my goal when I will be retired will be to have enough time and money and good health to visit the same countries, the same city, and to enjoy the country and to enjoy the city's architecture, food, and everything, people. So
you don't want to play trumpet just for fun?
I play for fun since 35 years. I have fun every day. So, for me, have fun is not to be professional or amateur. Everybody can have fun. I have fun every day. When I play with you, I have fun. When I played with piano with Jeremy Wilson, I have fun. I had fun. When tomorrow I play Swan Lake in the pit, I will have fun. Next week I go to Venezuela on Wednesday to play Arutunian with the orchestra. I will have fun also. So, it's my life is fun. So, perhaps my old times will be also fun, but with other things.
What do you listen in your free time?
Not a lot of music, I would say. In my car sometimes on my motorcycle, I have a big BMW motorcycle with a radio, and so when I come back from the orchestra, sometimes I listen to jazz on the radio, something like that, and in my car. But most of the time, when I stop the concert and rehearsal, especially in the pit, it's really loud most of the time. So I love quiet environment. Which means when I watch TV or when I put some music, it's really quiet, not too loud, because my ears need rest most of the time. So I would say I don't listen a lot of music, except in the pit with the singers or on stage. And
Where do you get motivation?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I think it comes by itself, motivation. It's just, I never think about motivation. I think perhaps when I was really young, but now it's day after day, it's my life. I think I don't have special motivation because everything comes. I think I had never a plan of career. I had only opportunities. When you make some audition, for example, something really clear. When I won the audition in the opera orchestra, it changed my life because I was the same trumpet player, but to be in the best French orchestra, put you under the spotlight. And on Monday I was nothing, normal guy. And on Tuesday I won a position in big orchestra and I become a trumpet star. You know? It was the same when I won the position of teaching in Paris Conservatory. I was nothing for teaching activities in the world, you know? And I won a position in the Paris Conservatory and I became interesting for festival, academy, something like that. They don't invite me. They invite the professor of the Paris Conservatory. That's also important for your ego, you know? Most of the time they don't invite Marc Geujon as man. They invite the principal trumpet of Paris Opera and the teacher of Paris Conservatory. So next principal trumpet of Paris Opera and next teacher in Paris Conservatory will be the new star. And 6 months after I will be retired, I will be nothing. It's normal. It's life. So I try. My life is not trumpet. I mean, my life is trumpet because it's my job, but I don't exist through the trumpet or through the music. I exist. Even I am not trumpet player, I am on earth, I mean. And when I will stop the trumpet, I will still be on earth. I hope so. But so the big problem for ego is when you exist only through your job. You exist because you are principal trumpet or teacher, and when it stops, you have a big hole around you. I mean, nothing. You are in space, you know, and it's not a good option for me. So I'm also really, how do you say in English? I believe that I'm here just because of my job opportunities, not because of me as man in the world, you know. So it changed also the vision you have of your importance. I am not important. My job is important, you know, but not me.
Do you think also becoming a great trumpet player is connected to be a good as a person?
I would say perhaps it changed a little bit also my vision of life, because to be more popular or and to have more opportunities, professional opportunities, helped me probably to have a more quiet vision of life and of music business. Because you are always more happy when everything runs well than if I would stay in the military band, perhaps with less concert, and say, okay, I have less thing to do, and so it's more boring. Here I have not. I am lucky because my life is never boring. I mean, I have always a next travel, a next concert, a next something. So it runs really well, and it runs fast. So perhaps it helped me to change my vision of life. Probably.
Do you think it's possible to compete in music?
To compete?
Yeah.
You mean for competition?
Yeah.
I think one of famous pianists said competition is for horses. But yeah, now it's competition everywhere in the world. So I push my students to make international competitions, but not to win something, just to discover something. So discover how they could prepare so many pieces, how they could manage the preparation of the competition, how they can meet some people, everything. So I would say there is a good part in competition. So there is not really competition between musicians. It shouldn't be. But to use competition like international competition, it's probably good experience for the young people.
What ideal quality should musician has?
Humility.
What do you think it's meaning of music?
Big question. Art, I mean, emotion. Emotion first. I mean, colors. I don't know. We can find many different words, many different meaning of music, but emotion is perhaps the most important, and also transmission, language, dialogue. How do you say? Sharing something. Music is a lot of different things. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have one last question. And then I will need to say goodbye.
Okay.
If you had to choose one piece of advice for young musicians, what would it be?
Be passionate, I would say. Only one. Yeah, passion. It's perhaps the most important, and love of music. I mean, so that's already two, and practice. That's the third one. But be happy to do that wonderful journey as a trumpet player or musician. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot for accepting my invitation.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it a lot.
It's a great time for me. I hope it was a bit clear with my bad English, but perhaps someone will understand something from me. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you again.
Já se s vámi loučím a budu se těšit u dalšího dílu.